Hey guys, I wanted to put a little video out there on something that's very basic in the fish keeping hobby, and it has to do with the test kit. In particular, the API Freshwater Master Test Kit. The reason why I want to put a video out on this is because I don't think people use it properly or like they should, or get lazy with it, because it is a test kit. Although that is very accurate, if it's not done right, you are not going to get an accurate reading from it. So let's talk about this a little bit, and I'm also going to share you some tips involving this kit that I've learned over the years, and talk about how to properly use it so you know you're getting an accurate reading when you do this. This test kit is one I always have in the fish room. I'm very impressed with it, and it has never let me down. And I recently, well, not recently, but semi-recently started using the aquarium co-op test strips. Once I've compared them with this test, which I've have a couple videos out on comparing those two, they are both very accurate. And I like aquarium co-op's test strips because when you have multiple aquariums, it's much faster to go through and test your tanks using those, especially on those days you don't feel like doing it, but you know it needs to be done, or you think you have a problem. It's a very quick, accurate way. But I also like using the API Master Test Kit, and I always keep it around because I've also done a video where one gave me an inaccurate reading, and I was able to have the other one available to test to see if I did have a problem, when in fact I didn't. So it's always good to have a couple of them around, and these are the two tests that I recommend to have on hand, because two, if you run out of one, you have another one. Not that you need to test all the time, because if your fish are fine, 9 times out of 10 you don't need to test. But I always like to test my tanks weekly, because sometimes problems can creep up on you, like an ammonia spike, and you don't know it. So, but as you can see here, I have mine set up here like this, always available, easy to do. And I cut foam out for each individual bottle, and down here I got the caps and the tubes. And I did that because I wanted to consolidate everything, put it in one place, so I do all my testing right here. But let's go ahead and talk about how to make sure you're running this test accurate. When you first bought this test, you may have read through the booklet, and then, like me, over the years, had it down by memory and don't need the booklet anymore. I can't remember the last time I even had to look in that thing. But I want to make sure, like I said at the beginning of the video, that people were doing this test accurately. See? Let's jump into that. So you got your ammonia, you got your nitrites, you got your nitrates, and you got your pH. And I always go in order left to right. I start with the ammonia. The ammonia is pretty straightforward. Fill water up to that tube, that line on the tube. You put bottle 1 in, 8 drops, bottle 2, 8 drops, and then you shake it. You let it sit for 5 minutes. When it comes to the nitrites, same thing, but you put 5 drops in. Boom. You shake it a little bit, you let it sit for 5 minutes. Now when it comes to the nitrates in particular, this is what I want to talk about. I think what people do, and I've seen people do it on videos, they put bottle 1 in, and they don't shake it, and then they go ahead and put bottle 2 in. When you put bottle 2 in, it clearly states that you need to vigorously shake that bottle very, very good before you put the drops in. I know a lot of people skip that step. They just give it a couple shakes and put it in. The directions do state that it is very important to not skip that step and do that step right, because if you're not shaking that bottle really hard for 30 seconds, the potential of you getting an inaccurate reading is very high. I will shake it like this for a while, and I'll shake it like this for 30 seconds to make sure that it gets well mixed and well shaken up, so I'm getting an accurate reading. That's one thing I wanted to address in this video. I think that gets skipped a lot. So, and then so on and so forth. You go to the pH, 3 drops, and you only have to invert that. Now with the nitrates, it recommends you just invert bottle 1 a couple times after you put the drops in. But on bottle 2, like we just discussed, you've got to shake it really good for 30 seconds, bang it off the palm of your hand, and I think a lot of people skip that part. So make sure you are doing as the directions state. When it comes to the pH, when it comes to all these, the directions also state that when you turn the bottle upside down to drip it in the vial, you need to turn it completely upside down to ensure uniformity of all the drops. If you don't go completely upside down and you're lazy and you're off to the side a little bit, you're not getting a full drop. So that's another mistake I see people making that you need to avoid. You're taking the time to go around and test the water in your tanks. It's very important you follow the directions to the T when you're using this kit. because you don't want an inaccurate reading, and then the next thing you say you're blaming API, this test kit sucks, blah, blah, blah. Well, no, again, it's operator user. You need to take the time. If you don't have it by memory, you need to read the directions until you get it by memory and you're doing it right so you have an accurate reading. Okay? So let's talk about this next thing I wanted to address. So the next thing we want to talk about is, over the years, I've accumulated a lot of these, and anybody that's keeping fish long enough that uses this kit, you probably have accumulated a lot of these too. But if you don't, it's very important that if you only have like 4 of these, and you need 4 to do a complete test, once you rinse these things out to use it again, you need to make sure that you take a paper towel and twist it up, and you get in there and you get it completely dried up before you run your next test on another tank. Because if you don't, you have a little bit of residual water inside of this vial of your tap water from rinsing it out, and that will give you a false reading as well. You have to make sure, we're not being lazy, if you have to reuse the same vial, you rinse it and dry it out really well so there's no residual water from your sink in there. That's tip number 2. Let's talk about tip number 3. This test kit can fool you if you're not looking at the correlated color after you have done your drops in the correct lighting. I can set one of these vials up here on one of these tanks and it might look like it's red, but if I move it to a certain light, like I have found in my house, the microwave light underneath my microwave works really good. And if you take it from there to over there, you'll see that it's orange. Well, orange and red is very important difference. Red means you're getting into your 80 ppm nitrates, where orange is you're still in your 20s, but it can look very similar. So don't let the lighting fool you when you're doing this test. You'll have to just go around your house and see what works best. My favorite thing to do is this up here. Let me show you. After I have done and put all my drops in the vial and I'm ready, I like to stick my vials right here beside my LED light on my aquarium, and it illuminates these vials really well and I can see what color they are. And after a while, I don't even need to compare them to the chart over the years because I already know what colors mean what with every test. So that's a little tip number 4. Setting them on top of your glass top, ensuring you have the caps on. Another important reason to have your caps on is you do not want, over the years, if you're just being lazy and not wanting to do the cap and sticking your old finger over the end and going like this, I get it, it's faster and it's quicker, but it will stain your skin. And over years of that, you can get a certain toxin levels built up in your body. Don't be lazy, use the caps. That's tip number 5. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is the pH test. And I want to talk about that separately because you'll see why in a minute. Now, I don't know what API is doing over there, but over the years of using this test kit, it never fails. The pH bottle, I don't know if it's the fluid itself or it's the bottles. I wouldn't imagine it's the bottle because it's the same bottles all the other ones come in. But you cannot get this thing upside down for uniform drops. With the pH test kit, it comes flying out of there. So you are forced to go from the side and easily drop it in, or you'll put way too many drops while you're running your test for this. I don't know what it is with API and the pH, but maybe they need to like have a smaller hole for the pH so it comes out easier like the other ones. But it never fails. I'll go like this and they'll come flying out. So you're almost forced to do this. I've even tried it where maybe if I just hurry up, it'll come out. Nope. Comes out too fast every time. I have tried modifying the tips. No matter what you do, buying brand new ones, my stuff it's always in date. The pH test kit is the hardest one to do by far because of that reason. That's it. 5 tips on how to use the API Liquid Master test kit correctly and to make sure that you are getting accurate tests every time. So let me know what you think of the video. Let me know what you guys do, if you've learned any tips and tricks for this test kit over the years. And be safe. Thanks for stopping by and have a good night.